The brutal truth about buying in the Woodlands in 2026. Everybody moving to the Woodlands, they're worried about the wrong thing. They're stressing over the price. They should be stressing over the roof, because here's what nobody tells you when you're scrolling through those gorgeous listings from California or Illinois or wherever you're moving from. That beautiful tree-shaded 5-bedroom home with a big backyard, a lot of those ones you're falling in love with, they're actually built in the 1990s. And in 2026, that means the roof is on borrowed time for some of them. The AC is one hot August away from quitting. And the seller, well, they're quietly hoping you won't notice before you sign on a dotted line. So if you're relocating to the Woodlands this year, especially from out of state, this video is the honest walkthrough I wish someone had given every client who moved they're blindsided. Stick with me, because by the end, you're going to see this whole market completely different. And that shift is going to work in your favor. Hi, I'm Natasha Carol, and I sell real estate here in the Woodlands. Not from downtown Houston high rise, not from a scene 3 states away. Here, I know these villages street by street. I know which sections flood and which ones don't. And I know the difference between a home that's aged gracefully and one that's about to hand you a 5-figure surprise. Here, it's my promise for you for the next 20 minutes or so. I'm going to give you the truth about buying here in 2026, the maintenance reality on these older homes, what you'll actually pay in property taxes, what those townships and HOA fees really cover, and then the part almost nobody talks about yet, which is how the market has quietly shifted in a way that finally puts you, the buyer, back, of course, in the driver's seat. None of this is doom or gloom. I love this place. I chose to build my family business here. We have many clients here, but loving a place and buying smart in it are two different things. And of course, you deserve both. If that sounds like the kind of straight talk you've been looking for, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. Of course, give us a like. It genuinely helps me keep making these videos for people just like you. All right, let's get right into it. The most important thing, the 1990s homes reality. Let's start with the thing that catches almost every out-of-state buyer off guard. The Woodlands is not a new community. It just looks like one because it's so well kept. This place opened its doors back in 1974, believe it or not. One village at a time, spreading out from Grogan's Mill through Panther Creek to Cochran's Crossing to Alden Bridge to Sterling Ridge, all the way out to Creekside Park. Some of these homes have been standing and sweating through the Houston summers for 30, 40, and believe it or not, 50 years. And the data backs that up. According to the U.S. Census Bureau of American Community Survey, the median year a home was built in the Woodlands is right around the year 2000. Sit for that for a second. The middle off the market is a home that's turning 26 years old this year. And roughly half the homes here were built before the 2000s, which means a huge slice of what you'll tour was built in the 80s and of course the 90s, believe it or not. Now, why does that matter, you say? Much, Natasha. 2 words: roof and AC. A typical asphalt shingle roof lasts somewhere between 20 or 25 years. Our brutal golf course climate, the UV, the hail, the hurricane season, the winds, it actually shortens that time. So a home built in the late 90s or early 2000s is very often sitting on its original roof or first replacements that's already aging out. And an air conditioning system works around 8 or 9 months out of the year. It does not get rest. 15 to 20 years is a good run for an AC in Houston. And a lot of homes are past it, honestly. So let's talk about the real numbers, because this is where it gets serious and where it really matters. According to the Houston area contractor pricing compiled by Angie and local roofing companies for 2026, a full replacement roof in our area runs anywhere from $8,000 to $5,000 on the low end, and it could be up to $28,000 on the high end, depending on the size of the house and the square footage. With typical asphalt job landing around about $10,000 to $15,000, $9,000. And a full HVAC system replacement, according to the same 2026 contractor data, most Houston homeowners are spending somewhere between $8,000 and $15,000 and higher if the ductwork is involved. And those two together, you're looking at $20,000 to possibly $30,000. That's not a cosmetic upgrade. That's a full kitchen backsplash. That's the kind of hit that shows up 6 weeks after closing when you've already spent your cushion on movers and of course on window treatments. And here's the part that really gets me because I've seen it happen. Buyers coming from out of state don't have a local frame of reference. You're touring a home on a beautiful spring afternoon. The light is coming down through the pines. The seller has it staged perfectly and you fall in love. Nobody's thinking about the 22-year-old condenser coming away on the side of the house. You feel the charm. You don't feel deferred maintenance at all. You're just looking, of course, at the cosmetic and then the beauty that's in the home. So the number one thing I want you to walk away with today is this. In the Woodlands, the age of the home is just as important as the price of the home. When we tour together, I'm looking at the roof line. I'm trying to check the label on the AC unit. I'm not an expert, but these are just things that I really look at because charm is free to fall in love with, but a new roof is not. That's the piece that scares most people. Let me show you the piece that just quietly costs people, which is taxes. The next section, not so important, but property taxes. It's important for some, but not for others. Here's the conversation I have with most every buyer moving from a state with income tax. You're going to hear that Texas has no income taxes. And that's true. It's genuinely one of the great perks of moving here. But Texas has fun schools, they roads, services. Somehow that way it does that even through our taxes. So the money you're saving on one side, you're paying back on the other. It's a trade-off. It's definitely not a free lunch. So you have to be well informed. So what does that actually look like in the Woodlands, you might ask? Let me give you the honest range because I've seen different numbers depending on where you look, and I want to explain why. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, America's Community Survey, the median property tax bill in the Woodlands works out to be around effective rates somewhere in the range of, believe it or not, 1.4 to 1.7% of the home's value. And that puts a lot of homeowners here in the $5,000 to $8,000 a year zone. Sometimes more on the higher value homes. Now you may see a lower figure quoted close to 1.4%. And you may see a scarier figure quoted up to 2.4%. Here's why the numbers bounce around. Your exact bill depends on which municipal utility district or MUD your specific home sits in, plus your school district and a few other local levies. Two homes on the same street can carry slightly different total rates. The good news for us is that the Woodlands has some of the most mature and therefore lowest MUD rates in all of Montgomery County, often just 7 to 17 cents per $100 because that infrastructure was paid down years ago. The eye-watering 2.4% numbers you read about tend to be brand new master plan communities further out, not the established woodland villages, I would say. And there's actually some fresh good news I want you to know about. According to the guidance around the Texas Proposition 13, which voters approved back in November of 2025, the school district homestead exemption jumped from $100,000 to $140,000, starting with the 2026 tax year. For a typical homeowner here, that's real money back, often somewhere north of, I say, $1,000 a year on school tax savings, as long as you file your homestead exemption, of course. So please, if you're a buy here, file it and don't leave that on the table. One more insider tip while we're here. According to Montgomery County Appraisal District data, more than half of the homes in the county have been assessed above the actual market value at some point, which means protesting your appraisal value isn't some fringe move. It's normal, smart, annual habit for savvy homeowners. At least I protest every year. I'll walk away with my clients through exactly how to do that year over year. So taxes here are real. They're higher than a lot in the country, but they're predictable, they're offset by no income tax, and they're honestly pretty reasonable for a community this polished. It's a known cost. It is not a landmine like a surprise roof. So let's take a breath and pull this all together, because right at the heart of the brutal truth, I told you at the top that everybody moving here worries about the wrong thing. And it's true. And you can see already that it's right. People obsess over sticker price of the house. And meanwhile, the two things that actually shape your first few years here are the age of the systems of the home and, of course, the tax bill that comes with it. That's the stuff nobody warns you about from the out of state. That's the stuff that turns a dream moves into a stressful one if you're blindsided, and it's important to be aware. But here's the thing, we're only halfway through, and this is where the story turns, of course, because I haven't told you yet about the shifts that happen in this market in 2026, the one that hands leverage back to you. And I haven't told you about those townships and those HOAs, what they really buy you, which is honestly the whole reason people fall in love with living in the first place in the Woodlands. Of course, that's gonna be coming up. Before we get there though, if you're seriously considering a move to the Woodlands, I put together a free relocation guide that goes even deeper than this video. It breaks down the village side by side, which ones fit with your families, which ones fit empty nesters, the school zones, the commute realities, the typical price brands, and a maintenance checklist, so you know exactly what to look out for before you fall in love with the house. It's the same guide I hand my own clients. The link is downloaded right here in the description box below. Grab it. It's completely free. And then, of course, let's keep going. Next, the revelation. The market has shifted and buyers can finally negotiate. Okay, here's the part that changes everything. For years, buying in the Woodlands felt like a fist fight. Inventory was razor thin. You find a home, you love it. By the time you've driven home to think about it, there were 4 offers on the table, all over asking, half of them waiving inspections on a 30-year-old home. That's how crazy it got at times. Buyers were overpaying for a house that needed a new roof and an AC. And they were doing it sight unseen just to win a deal. That market is gone. And this is the good news. I've been working and waiting to tell you, of course. According to Redfin, the median sales price in the Woodlands area over the 3 months ending, I would say in May of 2026, was about $600,000. Now, you'll see slightly different mediums floating around. Motive put a recent month closure to $670,000. Local brokerages have quoted mid-600s. And if you're ever see an average price up near $990,000, that's the luxury estates out in places like Carlton Woods, pulling that average way up. That's exactly why I always steer you into the medium, the true middle of the market instead of the average. Bottom line, a typical Woodlands home in 2026 is somewhere in the low to mid $600,000. But the price isn't the headline. The inventory is, I would say. According to the local MLS data reported through the Houston Association of Realtors, active listings in the Woodlands didn't just tick up, they surge. In one recent comparison, active homes for sale jumped roughly 77% year over year, and the months of supply, which is basically how long it would take to sell the home at the current pace, more than doubled from around 2 and 2.5 months up to nearly 5 months. And zooming out, according to Realtor.com reports, active listings across the greater Houston area, as well as Pasadena, the Woodlands, metros, they were up more than 22% over the prior year. So it's important to understand how the market is shifting. Do you understand what that means for you though? For the first time in years, you have choices. You have time. You can tour a home, sleep on it, tour it again, and it'll likely be there. In some cases, because the most pristine ones, well, I can't guarantee you anything there. I'll be honest with you about one wrinkle, because I promise you the truth. If you pull up Redfin, you might see it will call it's a very competitive competitive market where homes sell in around 23 days. Meanwhile, local brokerages are reporting homes sitting, I would say, closer to 50 to 60 days. So which one is it? Here's the explanation. Redfin's headlines, they spread measures how fast the homes that did sell went under contract. And well-priced move-in ready homes, of course, are ones that's gonna go quicker. The local active listing numbers captures everything, sitting on the market, including overpriced homes and the ones that need work. And of course, those that are lingering still on the market. Both things are true at once. Sharp homes sell fast, everything else waits. And that's the gap precisely where negotiating the power, it lives. Because according to those same local market reports though, homes here are now selling at roughly 3% under the list price on average. And price reductions are running well above last year's pace. Sellers are cutting prices that did not happen 2 years ago. So it's something you need to pay attention to. This picture is different. 2 years ago, you were overpaying, waiving inspections, paying for roofs, holding on to homes. Today, you can order a full inspection, find out the AC is on the last leg, go back to the seller and say, cover the AC or knock $10,000 to $15,000 off, or I walk. In a lot of cases in 2026, they've been saying yes. That is a completely different world. That's leverage coming directly to you. So you have to keep that in mind. According to Freddie Mac, the average 30-year fixed mortgage is around 6.43% as of July of 2026, actually down from a year earlier and hovering nearly around the recent low percent. Rates aren't the bargain they were back in 2021. They've been stable, and stability is something you can plan around. Most forecasts, including Zillow's, expect Houston area prices to stay roughly flat through 2026. So you're not buying into a runaway market or a falling knife. You're buying into a calm, negotiable one. So a revelation I would say is simple. The very thing that scared you at the start of this video, all those aging homes, is now the thing that gives you power. Because in a buyer's market, a home that needs work is a home you can negotiate on. You couldn't do that before. That naturally brings up the next question. If I'm paying $600,000 plus, and if I'm paying property taxes, what exactly am I getting for those townships and HOA fees on top? Let's talk about it, because this is where you actually start to feel why people love the Woodlands. Next, we're going to talk about the not so township HOAs and the life you pay for. So the Woodlands, it is run differently than most suburbs. Instead of the one giant homeowners association, there's Woodlands Township, which functions, I would say, like a local government. According to the Woodlands Township, it funds community services through a combination of property taxes, sales tax, and hotel tax. And for the 2026 budget, the township portion of the property tax rates was set at about 17 cents per $100,000 of value. And on top of that, depending on your specific village and section, you may have community association assessments as well. Now, when out-of-state buyers hear another fee, they tense up, and I get it. But let me tell you what the money actually buys, because this is a part I want you to feel. It buys trees. It buys the fact that you drive into the Woodlands, there is no billboards screaming at you, no garnished signs, just this canopy of preserved pine trees, forest. Almost a third of the Woodlands, around 28%, is intentionally left as open green space. That doesn't happen by accident. You're paying for it, and it's worth every single penny, of course. It buys pathway, more than 200 miles of shaded walking and biking trails, and the wind behind the neighborhoods. So your kids can bike to a friend's house and to the village pool without ever touching a major road. Picture a Sunday morning here. It's early. They're already warm, and you're walking the dog under the pine trees on a trail that feels like it belongs to a state park, except it's 50 yards from your back door. That's the fee at work in the Woodlands. It buys village pools and parks and tennis courts and pickleball courts and events. It buys fireworks over the waterway. It buys those summer nights at the Cynthia Woods Mitchell Pavilion where you can hear concerts going on, drifting across the water while you're having dinner on a patio at Hughes Landing. The lake going gold as the sun drops. It buys Market Street where you can walk from dinner to a movie to an ice cream shop without moving your car. It buys safety, the unkept, the unseen, for the whole reason this place looks like a photo even after 50 years. So yes, it's a real line item in your monthly budget, and you're always show you exactly what it's for. Any home before you fall in love with it. But this isn't the fee that disappears into a void. This is a fee that makes the Woodlands feels like the Woodlands. It's the difference between living in a subdivision and living inside of a forest. That's what most people say. That just happens to have a great schools and of course an HEB. Who wouldn't want to live there? And when you weigh in almost everything, that's really the whole equation coming to focus. So let's go all the way back where we started. I told you that everybody's moving here worries about the wrong thing. They panic, of course, about the price, and they ignore the roof. That's where we started, of course. But now that you see the fuller picture, don't you? Yes, these homes are older and they look, and a chunk of them are going to need a roof or AC sooner than a shiny listing photo lets on. Yes, the property taxes are real and the township fees are real too. Okay, those are the brutal truths. But here's what makes 2026 different. Every one of those brutal truths is now something you can plan for, price in, and negotiate around. The market handed the leverage back to you as the buyer. Inventory is up. Homes are sitting. Sellers are cutting prices. For the first time in years, you can walk into a 30-year-old home, get a real inspection, look the seller in the eye and say, this is beautiful and it needs a roof. So let's talk about it. And they'll probably talk about it, willing to negotiate, willing to build a win-win situation. That's not a scary market. That's the best negotiating position. And so this is a real advantage. And when you get it right, when you buy the right home in the right village at the right number with the right things fixed, here's what you actually get. You get a pulled together driveway under those pine every single evenings. You get walking trails and a village pool and concerts on the waterway. You get some of the best schools in Houston, of course, and in the region, and a community that 4 generations of families have chosen to stay in. You get a life here, not just a house. The brutal truth isn't that the Woodlands is a bad place to buy. The brutal truth is that it's a wonderful place to buy. And in 2026, for once, you can finally buy it on your terms. You just have to go in with your eyes open. And now they are wide open, hopefully. So let's recap the whole thing quickly, because I threw a lot at you all at once, of course. 1, these homes are older than they look, according to the census. The median Woodlands home was built somewhere around the year 2000. So budget seriously for a roof and possibly a HVAC, which together can run $20,000 to maybe $25,000 if you have to get all of it done. 2, taxes are real but predictable. Expect an effective rate roughly in the 1.4, 1.7% range, offset by no income tax. And remember to file your homestead exemption, which gets more valuable in 2026. 3, this is the big one. The market has shifted. And according to Redfin and local MLS data, inventory has surged. Homes are sitting longer and sellers are accepting offers under list price. You have the leverage you did not have 2 years ago. So it's something you should consider. 4, those townships and HOA fees paid for trees, trails, pools, whole feel of the place. They're not a tax on nothing. They're the price, of course, of the lifestyle in the Woodlands. Put it all together and the picture is clear. This is a premium, mature market that's finally giving buyers room to breathe, go in and form, negotiate with confidence. And of course, you can absolutely win here in this market when you haven't been able to win before. If you're thinking about making the move to the Woodlands, I would genuinely love to help you get it right the first time. These are neighborhoods I'm familiar with, and there's nothing I enjoy more than helping someone from out of state land exactly the right village and exactly the right home without the expensive surprises. So reach out. My contact information is right down in the description box. A quick call costs you nothing and can save you a fortune, of course. And if you're not quite ready to buy now, no pressure. Start with the free relocation guide I mentioned earlier. It's deeper, printable version of everything we've covered today with the village breakdown and of course the missed maintenance checklist, and of course it links right in the description box in the video below for you to download. Now we're ready to keep going. You can watch our next video. It breaks down each of the 9 villages one by one so you can figure out which one of the Woodlands actually fits your lifestyle. Of course, I'm Natasha Carol. Thanks for spending your time with me. I will see you on the next video. Can't wait to help you find your next home.